program today.
Cayman Islands foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I am excited because I get to live, love, laugh, and learn. And today's discussion is going to be great. Not only are we going to be running for safety, but we're going to be improving who we are, empowering what we are, and who knows, enjoying who we are. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. I hope you enjoyed your long weekend. I don't know, for some reason it was one day off of work for some of us and it seems like it was almost a year. But it's a pleasure to have in our studio today the excellent company of Miss Renata Keskes. It was a great honor to meet you in person the other day.
Thank you, likewise.
All right, thank you, man. Some people leave such an indelible impression on you. You come away motivated and not just energized and not just empowered because of, now that's almost a cliche, but make you feel that life is good, people are great, and the promise that lies ahead is so wonderful. And I think that promise is
Thank
great.
you. It's apple cider vinegar. That's my secret. Yeah.
Oh, hey, tell me, do you add it with some cinnamon as well? Because that's what I do.
No, just water and apple cider vinegar.
Okay, I add a
to
little
jumpstart
cinnamon.
the day.
That's it? All
Yeah.
right. Well, maybe I just should do it that way. I put a little apple cider vinegar on every day, a little touch of cinnamon, and I use it before I go to bed, but maybe I should do it in the morning.
Yeah, it works for me in the morning.
Yeah?
That's fine.
I use like maybe 2 ounces.
Just a tablespoon.
Just a tablespoon?
Tablespoon will do, yeah.
All right. See, what do you say? A tablespoon of sugar mixed or honey mixed the medicine go down? Well, apple cider vinegar.
That's it.
The brags one. But we joke and jest, but there are so many little things that can trigger the body to be much more receptive to good stuff, and the way we position ourselves, the people we are surrounded with, the words that we say to ourselves and say to others. But sometimes we need to be engaged. We need to be informed, and we need to be willing to embrace. As you're here today, as we talk about your upcoming book and all the great things that lie ahead, hopefully this will be one of many continuing discussions for the decades to come, whether I'm hosting or not. Maybe I'll be like Larry King and be here forever, and maybe I'll be like Don King. No, just kidding.
Yeah, maybe, agree. That's the goal. That's what I'm here for.
All right.
I think the conversation about gender-based violence has been opened, but hasn't been continued.
Yes.
And I'm here to talk today about my crusade against gender-based violence. I'm aiming to tackle many problems. One of the challenges that I'm aiming to tackle is for people to know how to pronounce my last name. So saying it's Keskes.
Keskes.
You say
So
Keskes.
Renata? So is it Renata or just Renata?
It's Renata Keskes.
Okay, well, we're going to ask you to...
Yeah. Do you know what does it mean in Hungarian?
Okay, let me guess. She catches whom she chases, and she who seeks butterflies.
You know what? I would like to go with that, but the sad reality, it means goat owner.
Goat owner.
Nothing charming. Yeah.
Well, apparently Susan says Watson in Cameron back means, well, Watson.
Watson. Yeah.
Okay, so
yes, during lockdown, I wrote a book called Running for Safety.
Yeah.
It is basically a self-defense manual that I wrote for women who are busy running their businesses, running their households, running to PT meetings, but still eager to know how to protect themselves. Women have a lot in their hands sometimes, and they just don't have time to read the book as thick as they thumb. So this book was written for them.
Sometimes, whether it's a book for meditation or prayer or it's a self-help book, how do you boil water? Sometimes we have these resources, but we don't know where they are. They're not available when we put our hands on them. When we do, we don't know how to open them to access the information. And then when we have all that, we never remember how to use it when we are called upon. So self-help or self-defense is, how do we get people to a point where it's almost instinct, but instinct from a trained perspective that they respond appropriately? For instance, if there's a fire on the stove, do you blow on it with your mouth? Do you throw water on it? You need to know what to do.
You know what? Unfortunately or not, but you cannot see your vulnerabilities when you look into the mirror. When you put on a few extra pounds, the mirror will tell you that, hey, listen, you better hit the gym or go for a little run. But you cannot see how vulnerable you are. And you know what? Why do we have fire extinguisher at home? Why? Because we want to fight fire? No, we have fire extinguisher because we want to be prepared.
Oh, see, I have mine because planning department required it. And
I see.
No, I just see.
Well, I have one at home, so in case a home intruder comes in, I can use it as an improvised self-defense device.
Now I know.
Yeah,
note to self.
Please make a note, yes. So I think not only women and men, but also kids of all age should know how to defend themselves. Most importantly, how to stay out of harm's way, because it gives them that confidence that can help them walk an inch taller. And then let me take it to another point. I absolutely love watching documentaries about Africa and about wildlife. You will never see a lion going after an alpha buffalo. They will go for a buffalo that is sick, that has its back turned on, that is limping. Same thing. If you're constantly bury your face into your cell phone, then you're going to attract unwanted criminal attention. But if you leave your phone in your pocket and you walk confidently, then you will resonate that strength through your pores that will repel. Right.
So you are aware of what's going on as you deliberately moving from your office to the car park to your car, or you're walking from the grocery store, check out with your groceries in hand to your car. Be aware of what is around you. But if I can ask though, I thought I heard, may have read, may have even seen somewhere long ago, where they say, at the very least, get on your phone and have a conversation, even if you pretend conversation, but call a friend. Hey Jane, I'm leaving. I thought I heard that being told to us long ago as a way to be aware and to be safe.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. There is actually a chapter in my book called Busting BS. And BS actually stands for belief system, okay?
Okay, that's what I thought.
It's a belief system.
Yeah.
This is a belief system which is outdated and very, very wrong. If somebody approached me and was after my watch or my cell phone, I would just say, you know what, take it. This is priceless. Between you and I and a few hundreds or thousands of listeners, I actually would not just give my watch because I really love my watch. I think I'll put up a fight. But what I teach to my students, give it up. It has a price.
Yes.
However, you are priceless. So if somebody is really after you, you need to know how to think your way out, talk your way out, and your last resort is you have to know how to fight your way out from a bad situation. And you don't have time to wait for a hero. There is no point for you to get on a phone and pretend that you are not noticing that you are being noticed. That actually makes you even more vulnerable.
And I'm glad you shared that, because I think sometimes, there are these myths or outdated belief systems, the BS that we've come up with.
Yes.
and sometimes we probably will watch television and believe that this is how life transpires, as we go about our daily routines.
I tell you what, it's better be rude than sorry.
Yeah.
As a bodyguard, I was on assignment in Rwanda a few years ago. It was just a really mini assignment, but I said, you know what, if I'm already here, if I travel from Cayman all the way to Rwanda, I'm going to make a best of it. So I signed up for a running race. And while we were waiting for the race to kick in, I befriended a Japanese girl, Yuko. As we were chatting with Yuko, I saw this local guy with a very, very off energy, was just cruising around, and he picked the worst person possible. He sees me up. So then I say, Yuko, I'm so sorry, give me just a second. So I go over to the guy, I say, I'm sorry, are you going to run with us today? He said, no. And he started to stutter. He's like, why are you staring at me? Why? And then he just walked away. So my new friend Yuko goes like, did you know the guy? I was like, how would I know the guy? I'm here just for a week. But what I'm trying to tell you with this little situation is that you have to use your voice, which is one of your most powerful weapons, to make sure that whoever was about to pick you out knows that you will not go down without a fight.
Okay. I want to ask you about that, right? Because sometimes you hear some of the other belief systems that we may have, avoidance and the like. But we have a caller online. Now, I put the headset on to keep my hair in place. Sorry that you have to, mess up yours. But as you don your headset.
Better be a good question.
Let's go to our phones. It's going to be a great day. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you today?
Blessed and thankful. How about you?
Good afternoon to your guests, too. I didn't say good afternoon to the guests. But,
good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the call.
God is good. I know I said I'm listening to what you're saying, and the good ideas, how to psychologically you can do things that bring you out of situations. But I tell you, my greatest thing is that whenever I find myself in a position like that, is I always say a little prayer to Jesus and ask him to guide my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. And he always comes through for me.
All right. So you pray for safety and security, and you ask for provision and protection. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that we can't forget God in these things because, I mean, if you're a believer in God, and I've had some miraculous things. I mean, you can talk about that one day.
Right.
And it's like, it's so beautiful to trust in God, and I just hope that, everybody out there, whoever it is, that when they find themselves in situations where they have no real power to do anything, you trust in Jesus and, believe. You got to believe, you got to trust in God and have faith.
Yeah, man. All right. Well,
okay, my friend, have a good afternoon.
God bless
your guests and everybody.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for your call.
All right. If you wish to respond, Ms. Rada, if not, we'll pause and take a break. Come back and continue the discussion. The stage is yours. But I want to... Good.
Oh.
Yeah.
I really like his energy and his attitude, but I think you have to be a little bit more proactive and productive in ensuring your safety. We have heard of many situations here in Cayman and off Cayman where a simple little player wasn't good enough to keep people out of harm's way. With my activism and with my efforts, I'm really here to inspire people to raise their voice, not only for themselves, but also for those who have no voice and visibility. And like I said, maybe a prayer can give you that extra sense of security. But on my belief, because I'm in this industry, I think knowing how to punch someone in the throat very hard if they're after you, it's a must. And it's not going to compromise your femininity or your great character, because you have a right to protect yourself.
That's the thing that we need to understand.
I really hope I give the right answer.
I think people need to, what was the pastor once said, God helps those who help themselves. Let's pause and take a short break. When we come back, let's continue, talk about your upcoming book, when we can be a part of it. But to appreciate, people need to be, as you said, proactive, to draw their strength and to be aware. And maybe you can help us to appreciate some of the things that we are doing now that we probably need to rethink, or some of the things that we're not doing that would enhance our own safety, even here, even now, in this time. All right, let's pause and take a short break. We invite you to be a part of a discussion. Ms. Renata will continue this until 1 o'clock. And listen, she's a busy lady and she has a lot to do, so we're very grateful for the time she spends with us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
For the record.
for information that matter to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for Cayman's new Straight Talk morning show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record. Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended August 31st, various life cycle funds provided returns between 9.2% and 16.5%, and our all-in expense ratio is currently the lowest it's ever been, a record low at 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you.
Why work with a Suriba agent? We can tell you that those letters represent a proven understanding of the real estate market in the Cayman Islands. But it also means so much more than that. Our trained Suriba agents are committed to ethics, integrity, and excellence of practice. It's all about confidence, knowing you are working with a qualified Suriba agent. As members of Suriba, your trust is our promise. To find a Suriba agent today or to search thousands of listens, visit Suriba.com. Suriba, the mark of excellence in real estate.
Siwa Sain.
My good friend Ray, another Siwa Sain.
You threw me with a good friend. Yes, we have another Siwa Sain. This time it's the controversial topic of Doucette. Doucette. Jean Doucette or Jean Doucette. My French not too good. Nothing funny. It's first bank collapse. I have nothing funny to say about it. This Friday, Siwa Sain
is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Doucette.
It's an interesting time in our history.
Very interesting. Like I said, I don't have anything fun about it. It's a controversial topic.
So I guess people have to tune in.
This Friday, 19th of February. Siwa Sain. Yeah, on Radio Cayman. They allow us to be on the radio again, you know. Siwa Sain, this Friday.
April 14th, 2021 is Election Day in the Cayman Islands.
Running for political office is no easy feat. You need to be everywhere, all of the time.
Now is the time to get your important messages out to the voting public.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, has always been there for incumbents and future candidates alike. Whether you want to get your political commercials or infomercials on air, make in-house studio appearances, or have your district meetings broadcast live to the listening audience.
Set a time today to meet with one of our knowledgeable Radio Cayman sales account executives who have their fingers on the pulse of the community.
Call them today on 949-7799 or email rcsales@gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, we've been in the community for just about 45 years. That means something.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And I'm always grateful to two things: our listeners who will give us our time and be attentive and contribute, and our guests who will share, especially at the lunch hour. I don't know about you guys, but this time of day I get hungry now. So if you are having your lunch, great. If you're taking time out of your lunch to enjoy it, even better. Certainly appreciate it. No.
Well, I'm skipping my lunch for this.
See,
yes. So today I had breakfast. I'm going to have dinner, but I don't do lunch.
And that's a big sacrifice, and honestly,
that's
thank
my
you.
contribution. Yes.
I really feel that. But for what it's worth, right? Since you won't have lunch, I'll have lunch twice.
Oh, please.
Could that work?
I enjoy. Yes.
No, I haven't had lunch in the longest time because of the time. So I realize that. But thank you, and I really.
Oh, you look good. You look good. Yes.
Do not give her glasses, okay? Let's let her believe that. Oh man, what a camera can do for you. No, but Miss Renata Keshkis, right?
Keshkish it is, yes.
Yes.
Once again, thank you so much for having me today.
But no, it truly is a pleasure, because I think more of us need to appreciate the strength we have in us, but the strength that is within our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, the women in our society. And for Cayman, it should be easier, because we know the seafaring heritage. The men with great sacrifice and service went away, but it was the women that stayed behind, who did everything, right? And that positions us now to have that partnership. But today, for some reason, we don't have that value of the strong woman,
You know what? We talked about my upcoming book called Running for Safety. Mm-hmm. I was not planning to release the book around the corner of International Women's Day. It just happened. This is how fate wanted it. Few weeks from now on the 8th of March, the world will stop for a big moment to honor women. But I think it's equally important, if not even more important, not to only acknowledge the achievements of women, but also the importance of protecting the safety and security of women. I truly believe that only those can reach personal and professional goals and excel who feels confident, feel safe and empowered. And once again, let me just repeat myself. This is why I think it is very important for all, not only for women, but for all, especially for a younger generation, to know how to be confident and how to speak for themselves and also for others, because that would have them excel.
You are a trained bodyguard, a trained self-defense instructor. If I say this properly, if not, let me know. There is, without question, as you meet you, a positiveness about you, a confidence, and that probably is still the same level of confidence in your friends and the people who are around you. There are some of us who we can look at them. They look shy, timid, vulnerable.
You know what I do think that some people are just naturally more aggressive than others. Yeah, that would be me for sure. This is why I decided to step on a path of private close protection. But most people are not as fierce as I am, and those are the ones who really, really need to come and see me, or even just call into the radio now and check in and track me down, because I would love to empower them and remind them that they're stronger than who they really think they are. Unfortunately, one of my biggest nemesis is social media. I'm not too active on social media, and I think a lot of, once again, the younger generation I'm talking about, interpret messages in a wrong way. Therefore, they think they are not strong enough, they're not beautiful enough, they're not worthy enough. What my message would be, for one of my message amongst the many, that screw everyone, you don't need validation from anyone. You don't have to have 10 million friends on social media, not even in real life. You just need those who adds great value to your life. And that would make you shine, and that would maybe make you feel more comfortable and confident.
We hear things like self-confidence, self-esteem, great to have. We hear that common sense isn't so common anymore. For some reason, our people no longer seem to have the same values that create in them worth, safety, security, stability, honesty, integrity in their relations. We're losing that, and like you, I abhor social media. I mean, I absolutely detest it. But it's reality, right? So is there a thing that we can do to help us to regain?
Yeah, you know what? I have faith in humanity and in the future. And we initially decided to talk about book, but women empowerment, gender-based violence is a more and more complex issue. And me by myself, I cannot solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that we can eliminate violence against women and also men, because men are subjected to all forms of violence as well, which can be not only physical in nature, but emotional, psychological, financial, sexual. So I think we can eliminate this problem only if we unite our efforts and raise moral awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So it cannot be just done by me, but one of the gentleman who just called in, he said how important prayer is for him. So I think it should be religious leaders, teachers, parents, caregivers. We should all play a role. On my opinion, if you don't play, we all have to play a role. If you don't, you are just part of the problem.
Yeah. If we're not on the side of making it safer and better for all of us, men, women, and children, then we're making it, well, not better, right? You shared something earlier about in Africa and the like, and if I could, because it's good to see people, what is it to say? Put your money where your mouth is, right? Some of us talk or we write a check, but we don't do and act,
Yeah. Well, I can proudly tell you that 2 years ago, because of COVID, I'm kind of
It feels like 4,000 years ago.
Was it? Yeah, like 40 years ago, or was it just last year? Let's just lay it like this. A couple of years ago.
Sometime in the past.
When I was young and reckless, I spent 6 weeks traveling from Zimbabwe to Zambia to Botswana to teach young girls and teens with situational awareness and self-defense skills.
Okay.
So yeah, this is I think this is my goal. Protecting people when I'm working as a bodyguard is my profession, but empowering with knowledge of self-defense, common sense, and situational awareness is my passion.
So is it then the same sort of training and techniques and application for being safe, personal security to yourself, situational awareness, whether you're in New York or in Grand Cayman or London or some remote city in some...
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think in New York there's no danger of being attacked by wild animals like you would have it in Africa, since you mentioned Africa. I think these safety rules are universal because they make sense. We mentioned cell phone before. It doesn't matter if you live in Grand Cayman or in London, New York, Budapest, which is in Hungary, where I'm from.
See, I was camera brackets here. Thanks for coming.
Let me just throw in something about me. Yes, it's for the listeners. This cute yet weird accent of mine is from Hungary. So it doesn't matter where you are. You need to be heads up about your safety and security. I'm not saying you need to be paranoid and always look over your shoulder, but know what is going on around you.
Okay, as you say that, I can see some people, even within my circle, we walk and we look. We're not, look like expression, we're not just yapping at things. We're paying attention. Some of it is training, some of it is what our parents told us, be aware. And then there's some with their heads down, whether it's cell phones. And I'm not just talking to a teenager, I'm talking about the fellow who still wishes he was a teenager, right? Now, how do you teach people that they need to be aware without being jumping, without being paranoid, without being so afraid of embracing life? But can you teach them that, hey, you're walking out the door? Well, what do you need to know and how do you teach that?
You know what? I will just ask them to sign into their Netflix account and watch a few episodes of Forensic Files. It's a very scary show. About it is very scary, really. Yeah. I think I'm kind of addicted to it. But it's a show about how people being tapped out because they don't pay attention to their creepy neighbors who give them the chills. Like I shared my experience with you, that what happened to me in Rwanda. This is what you do. If somebody is giving you the chills, somebody's steering you down, if someone's talking you need to address that person.
Okay. Is that then, and thank you, I was just thinking of, you go on board the airplane and they tell you these are the exits and so on, right? So you become aware. Some of us will go into a restaurant and we'll look around. Who's sitting where? What looks interesting, weird, stands out? Different things. And some people understand that that's what they do. They'll sit a certain way. But in your context, with being able to be cognizant of this creepy person staring you down, and then you being assertive enough and go and say, hey, I see you, watch yourself. Is that what we should all do? And if so...
For sure, yeah.
Okay.
You know what? Maybe we live in a very safe island, such as Cayman, but we are all in transit at some point. Who do you interact with while you're in transit? Strangers. I'm not saying stranger danger, actually. I don't believe in this. Strangers, actually, people you don't know, but who you can befriend. And once you befriend them, you either gain a new friend or maybe you gain a family along the way. That's how friends and families are born. You befriend strangers.
Yeah.
But you need to listen to your gut feelings. And it is not just a myth. It's an actual nerve that runs from your ab up to your brain and controls many bodily functions. It's your built-in security system.
That gut feeling.
That gut feeling.
Okay.
So some people refer to it as butterflies. I call it what it is. It's your gut feeling. If it tells you that something is wrong, either with a person or with a plate of food, you just sit down and that fish just doesn't really smell good, but somebody prepared it to you, and you're like, I should really eat it. No, you shouldn't. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. But some of us, right, especially now, it may have been this way forever, but I didn't live 1,000 years ago. At least I don't think so. Maybe I did. But now we want to be polite. Right, we plate of food. We don't want to say anything because we don't offend. The creepy person is staring at us.
Do you know what is just funny? You said we want to be polite. We want to be nice. We want to be kind. It's not a character trait. It's a chosen behavior. I may come across to you like I'm a nice person, but trust me, there are days when I'm not nice at all. Hey. Those are the days when I really need to double up on my apple cider vinegar and just remember. That how important it is to be kind.
In addition to wanting to be nice, that's what I chose trait, but we also don't want to offend our company. Or you always making a scene, or
it's oftentimes it's not about what you say, but how you say it. It's, let's say, you are that creepy neighbor who's been staring me down, and it just bothers me.
Yeah.
I can use harsh tone. I can throw in even a few ugly words, but I can ask you also nicely. But if you're resistant and if you keep bothering me, then I'm just going to make a conscious decision not to be nice to you anymore.
Right.
So like I told you before, I truly, when you look at me, do you think I'm weaponized? Do you think there's any weapons on me?
No. I mean, basically, without
Please tell the listeners that I have big biceps.
Well,
I do work out. I worked for this very hard.
I was going to say yes because I can see you, but they might not be able to see. Because you're, is it okay? You come in here, smartly dressed, professionally attired, and like an interview, right? There's no noticeable weapons, and your outfit, you're wearing what's it? Not pants and. Those
active wear.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
right?
I thought out of respect I had to dress up nicely.
But yet you are able to still defend yourself. So I wanted to ask.
Why?
Yeah.
Because my greatest weapon is my brain.
Okay.
So if I sense danger, I will know how to think my way out of it. Which exit are we going to use? If someone comes and try to harm us, how are we going to talk our way out of this? And then eventually how are we going to fight our way out of this?
So we got two questions. One is off-air comment, and one is, as you talked about, we're going to talk about strength and being strong and how we look at it. But this first one, let's ask. Off-air question, you talked about, like you, I don't subscribe to stranger dangers. Usually the people we know that we let into our lives who possibly will be the ones that would cause us more harm, potential, right? So how do we protect ourselves from those we know that unwanted?
It's a very, very tricky type of abuse. According to World Health Organization, 1 out of 3 women suffers in her lifetime by immediate person violence. It's a tricky one because, if you're a total stranger and you are in my personal zone, I would know what to do. But if you are in a loving relationship and then COVID hits and we're dealing with frustration caused by unemployment, money worries, uncertainty of all kinds, and that takes strain on our relationship, and you will start to raise your voice, and then eventually you start to raise your hands. What do I do?
What do I do? You're trapped in there. The government says you can't go outside. You're confined to that space, right? Nobody can visit you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's easier to be said than done, but I really, really would like to encourage, once again, let me repeat myself, out there, to remember that there's always a way out. There's always someone who can help. I've been working with Family Resource Center for quite a number of years now, and they do an amazing job. Mesh Unit does an amazing job. There's Crisis Center. There's help out there. So in case there is any listener out there who are exposed to violence or who happen to live in a violent household, because what we learned from COVID, that home is not necessarily a safe place for many. Here in Cayman, we can leave our house. Not too many women has this option back in Europe or in North America. Just don't be afraid to speak out and live.
Maybe as a
was it the answer to your question?
Perfect. Yeah, I think so.
I'm afraid sometimes I just say things that I want to say. Well, I don't really want you to think that I'm ignoring you.
No, not at all. No, I think this is a great conversation, and it will empower people, and it will get us to start to think. And I think that leads me to this supplementary question: is that we need to draw closer to our friends and family. Don't see it as being nosy. See it as being lovingly concerned and involved. And there's a difference between knowing people's business and being...
I must. It is a very, very sensitive issue, because at the end of the day, your relationship is your private relationship. It's not a community project, right? You're not going to discuss your personal problems just with anyone, and everybody will have a different input. You live in that relationship, not the community.
So with that then, as we look at...
I tell you, whenever I host a class for a group of women, I always make sure to tell them that if there's anything else that you want to ask or you want to share in private, this is my number. Feel free to call me anytime.
Okay,
it's a very sensitive issue, so it has to be treated that way.
Exactly. And that professionalism, that respect, but that compassion and concern that you have is so evident. And I think that's where we need to draw alongside. We talk about the village being available to raise a child, but what about the village being available to ensure that there's safety and security for man, woman, and child? Strength and being perceived as strong. I think our society somehow, and this is another reason why I do not, and I honestly pray that I never ever embrace social media. The words don't even go together in my mind, right? But that's just me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the reality. But when we look at it, we see this thing. We see how the family is supposed to look out, smile, and you don't see the reality. But the strength of people, of women in particular, isn't the thing that we see. It's the physique from working out, the confidence you get, the strength of safety in numbers because you have a good nurturing network of,
I like to refer to it as my tribe.
I like that.
I tell you what, there are only a few people in my tribe. Maybe I can count it on one hand. But those are people, men and women, who I truly admire, respect, and who inspire me every day to be a better person of myself.
I like that. My tribe, yeah. Like you, a few, but meaningful number of people that you have in your confidence.
Yeah. But you see how the younger generation, they are just hunting for likes and friendship requests and shares. I'm guilty as charged because I just snap a selfie before we sit down. Let me just check how many likes I've got so far. but what
I hear you. I know.
My fear is that social media just gives a platform to people to portray a kind of life that they don't have.
Yeah. Here is something that
it's just all filtered.
Yeah, exactly. I use it this way. And who's offended, I'm not going to apologize for it because this is the reality.
Don't do it.
No, and I won't, right? It's a tool to market. You use it to do things. You're using it to validate who you are, to gain approval for what you are, to gauge something, then you're devaluing you. Now, I will never open my personal, family album, whether it's digital or it's printed off, of my family pictures from when I was a child to yesterday, to any and everybody wide and near. You want to see that? Come into my dining room, we'll sit down.
Yeah.
I'll pour you a glass of coconut water and we can share it.
Yeah. Do you know what my father always said? That, Renato, if somebody asking for money, lend only the amount of money that you don't mind to lose.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you say, Renato, give me $50, well, I don't mind. If you don't give it back, you don't give it back, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Well, if you asked me $5,000, I was like, yeah, I would mind if you would run away $5,000. I think it's the same thing with materials that you post on social media.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you put up anything personal,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be out there in
Forever.
this great
Yeah.
world we call the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And people can just run away with it.
If I may then ask, because I think this conversation can continue at you have a book launch coming up very soon.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I see the time, and I'm so engaged that I'm not paying.
No, but I want to stay.
You want to stay?
I want to stay.
You change your mind? Okay. So is that testament to Susan?
I really skip lunch. I really have to go now. Yes.
You want to
book
stay?
Really?
No.
Well, I can come back after lunch.
Yeah, bring some lunch back. Okay.
Yeah. So the book release will be happening at the beautiful Luca restaurant at Caribbean Club, 5th of March, from 5 to 7 p.m.
That's next Friday. Not this Friday. Not tomorrow.
Looking at my calendar.
Next Friday. It's next Friday.
Next Friday.
Susan told me it
right.
was next Friday.
Okay. Trust Susan. So
good for you, girl.
It is going to be from 5 to 7. Everybody is invited and welcomed. We're going to start with a glass of Prosecco, and the book will be there available for signature and sales.
All right,
Hope to see you all there. And I really hope you enjoyed my conversation with Sterling today, and you had not much difficulties decoding my accent.
If they can understand mine, they should understand yours, okay? No, it's, in recent times, and I hope I don't say this and cause any problems where I shouldn't. I love this country. I genuinely love this place, right? So much so that I think sometimes people may mistake my passion for it to be something other than a genuine love for society. It's not political. It's not anything.
Yeah.
And my father, like men of his day, traveled the globe, and the stories that they still tell today make me feel like I've lived vicariously through them in their journeys through all of the ports, good, the bad, and the better, right? But here is a place I can meet people from all walks of life. And in recent times, if I may count you as one of them, I've met a number of people that have become enamored. I want now to engage further to learn more because it improves me. I said to one the other day, she improves my stock value because of the conversation, because of the opportunity, because of the chance to learn about other things. Unfortunately, sometimes that other conversation, the interaction that we have like this, doesn't exist because of this foolish little digital device that we take.
I see we have only 20 seconds left. Let me just take over the microphone. I came here, pow, fist bump. I came here a year after Hurricane Ivan.
Yes.
I was just a little bimbo back then. And here I flourished into this powerful woman who I like to see myself.
There you are.
Joke aside, I came here when I was very young. This Cayman is my home, and I truly love the welcoming local community.
Mm-hmm.
This is my adopted home, and I believe if you love something, you stand up for it, and you help it, and you protect it.
Nice.
And my effort and activism is my contribution. And my big thank you to Cayman for
thanks to you too
being my home.
For bringing not just your skill set, your enthusiasm, but a desire to share with others, to empower, to embrace, to show the strength. So next Friday, 5 to 7 at Luca?
At Luca Restaurant, Caribbean Club.
Okay. On God's willing, I'll get approval from my son to, put off what we normally do to be able to attend that evening.
I would love to see that.
And I would like very much to accept the invite. Hopefully, the wider community will come out as well. So 5 to 7 next Friday.
Yes, please come out and celebrate women.
All right. Enjoy your lunch.
You too.
I will. All right, we're going to pause and take a break. After the news headlines, Miss Susan stands by. And what words of wisdom do you have to me? Words of counsel? Maybe you need to chastise me and critique. Well, go right ahead. It's Thursday. Yesterday was a long weekend. Last year was a long century. I'm ready for it. Bring it on. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Human Rights Commission has looked into the ongoing matter with the Cuban political refugee who has been peacefully protesting seeking rights for his spouse to be granted residency and employment rights. This has led to the discovery that there is no provision to regularize the expatriate spouse in the Customs and Border Control Act 2018. Asylum grantees are required to be treated equally to nationals, therefore spouses should be able to apply. The Commission is currently searching for a resolution to address this matter. In international news, nearly 7 million people in the U.S. state of Texas have been told to boil tap water before consuming it after a deadly winter storm caused power blackouts at treatment facilities. The storm across the southern U.S. has killed at least 24 people and left millions without power. Japan's Seiko Hashimoto has been appointed the next Tokyo 2020 president after her predecessor quit over sexist comments he made. Former chief Yoshiro Mori resigned following a backlash after he was quoted as saying women talk too much. Singer Demi Lovato has said she had 3 strokes and a heart attack after a drug overdose in 2018 and that doctors told her she had been minutes from death. Lovato also told reporters she had been left with brain damage. Those effects include blurry vision, that means she can't drive, and made reading difficult, she revealed. These are your latest headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners now offering 12 ladies and gents wearing apparels. Prepaid on orders $19 and up. Other household items such as bedspreads, drapes, and wedding dresses remain at a standard 10% off prepaid. These discounts are on at all our stores and will end February 20th. Savannah Countryside, Elgin Avenue, 337 Eastern Avenue, drive-through, rain or shine. Telephone 949-7104. Our seamstress is on duty. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
This is an important public service announcement. In accordance with the standards in public life law, all candidates seeking election for public office must submit a declaration of interests before filing nomination papers on Monday, 1st March 2021. The Standards in Public Life Schedule 1 declaration form can be found on the Commission's website, www.standardsinpubliclifecommission.ky. Again, all electoral candidates must submit their declaration of interest before nomination day. To facilitate a smooth and expedient verification process, the Commission is requesting submission by 10 a.m. Friday, 26 February 2021. For more information, visit www.standardsinpubliclifecommission.ky or call the Commission office at 244-3685.
This message is brought to you by the Commission for Standards in Public Life and the Elections Office. Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us, and thank you too, not just for your prayers and your counsel, for your guidance, your direction, but for the opportunity to sit, sometimes to fellowship, sometimes to reason, and many times to be nurtured, encouraged, and to feel a great sense of, responsibility, but also a sense of hopeful expectation. And to those of you who join us from time to time in the studio for you who listen and contribute either through the WhatsApp or other means. But if it's okay, especially to those who will take time and call publicly, because that way, we stand in the gap visibly. But those who share their thoughts otherwise, please feel my heartfelt thanks, and to know that it is really, really with a sense of gratitude. Hopefully, I'm gracious as I am grateful to you for all you have done thus far. Someone reminded me that I've been hosting this for a while now, and I thought, wow, for a guy who didn't have much interest in the media, I still probably don't to some extent. So hopefully it's respectful and respectable in our presentation. Sometimes the jokes, you'll maybe laugh, if not with me, at least at my attempt. And I'm grateful to the guests, and as Miss Renata just extended the invitation, perhaps all of us next Friday evening 5 to 7 over at Luca, not just for her book launch, not just in celebration of International Women's Day, but as she has shared, it's about protecting all of us in our society, men, women and children. And it is that collective vision, that collective approach to making our society safe and safer for all of us that's going to be better for all of us. Well, it is open line as we invite you to call, share your thoughts with us. We can talk about anything, Of course, it is election year and you might be interested or even more interested than normal to talk about the political landscape. Let's do that. And maybe something else that is important to you. Well, let's talk about that as well. 949-8037. Or if the toll-free line is available to you, well, 1-800-534-8255. If it is okay with you, if I may, to Mr. Donny, Mr. Gooden, and all the guys over at 360 in particular, when we find people who are competent, who you can rely on, who say they're going to be there to do what they're going to do, and they're there when they say they do what they do, it is commendable. I hear many people talk about local time, Cayman time, Caribbean time, whichever, and it's inflammatory. Now, doesn't mean it's not true at times, because I think we have increasingly, as a society, becoming disrespectful of the value of time. I hope this isn't inappropriate, but I always say to those closest to me that there should be an 11th commandment: thou shalt not waste time. Because my father always told us, and even to this day, he still reminds us that no matter your wealth, you can't buy a second, even a nanosecond. Time wasted is, just time wasted. And once it's gone, it is gone. Now, you can't unring the bell. You might be able to influence what may come after. But if we value and respect time, people's time and our own, it is so crucial. And so when, for those of us who grew up with, parents for whom they told you, 1 p.m., didn't mean 1:01. It was probably, 12:45, 12:50 the latest. Or when they started work at 8 or any time, they were to work as early as they needed to get their tools, to get ready. So when the clock strikes 8, they were engaged. Many times, many minutes long before that, they'd already started working. There are those of us who will walk in, late. And there are times when I guess I was a little bit too strict to some people about being conscious of time, that I became a little lax because you don't want to be labeled as, this, that, or the next thing in some negative connotation. But it doesn't bode well when we disrespect time, others people time as well. So thank you for taking the time to listen to us, and thanks to the good folks over 360, man. They not easily one to impress, but they always do, and I'm grateful to that. So for what it's worth, we should probably be willing to publicly compliment and certainly show our appreciation while people can acknowledge it. I know many times we talk about give flowers while the living can smell, the sweet aroma. We don't always do that, and I'm guilty of that as well. Not just through gesture, kind words spoken or otherwise, but maybe we increasingly do that. But let me ask you the flip side of that coin. Now, Scripture talks about, chastise and private praise in public. Now, should we equally call out? Now, we can use the words hold accountable those and that thing which isn't in keeping with the values that we think. Now, it may be that we have mixed feelings about it, but if we start with leadership, the political leadership, the religious leadership, the business leadership, the things that are somewhat more public, maybe those are the things, and not only the individual who may have misstepped, but the office that has been misrepresented or somehow dishonored because of the conduct of the office holder. Now, what do you think about that? And always glad that this fine gentleman will join me from time to time, because he has, over the years, proven that, he's been consistent in his comments. He's been evocative and sharing. And as we welcome Mario D. Rankin to the studio. MDR, how are you, man?
I'm pretty good. Good afternoon to Radio Cayman and all their loyal listeners. Always a pleasure to come and have some tabletop discussions.
And thank you too, and if I may say, people like you and if he doesn't mind, Mr. Dolan over in the back, share their views publicly, and it is their views, like Mr. Mickey and others. It's not just their opinions, but they're saying, hey, this is what I think, this is why I think it, I'm standing by that. And it encourages more. We just had an excellent discussion with Ms. Renata, not just about instilling a sense of confidence in terms of our own personal protection, but the need to recognize that we're collectively in this thing together to make sure that the safety and security of all of us, our women and our children, our elderly, the ones that are perceived to be the most vulnerable. But she reminds us, hey, men, even that man that you may see as this, muscular, tall, strapping, powerful man who commands, great audiences, whatever, could still be a victim.
Oh, absolutely, and even more so now than ever before because of the social weakening of the fabric, where social media is the center and focus of dissemination of information, and sometimes it's not always what it is not always what it's perceived to be, because social media paints a total different picture than what the actual reality is.
The thing is, in
some cases, not all cases.
No, I did not, and I probably do not, and probably will not, either subscribe to nursery rhymes. Right? I just, it didn't speak to me, right? And yet, I like little idioms, little sayings and the like. And one that came to mind immediately as you're saying, that not all that glitters is gold, right?
No.
And sadly, too many of us have allowed things to become cliches, because we've heard it so often, but we no longer embrace it, right? Words have a particular connotation, and words are powerful. Scripture talks about life and death is in the tongue, right? And yet we fail to appreciate. That's why when you write things, you personally, or when you share things, there's a thought to it. There's an opportunity to debate, to have that dialogue, that discussion, but also to debate, I disagree with that,
right?
And if we don't have that in a healthy democracy, then we don't have a healthy democracy.
Well, it goes back to the phrase, not everything glitters is gold, but everything that glitters draws your attention.
Yeah.
And that is the objective of most things that they put out there for us to be either distracted by or to educate us subliminally.
Yeah.
And then, we become products of our own environment.
So as we speak to Mario Rankin, the phone lines are open, and it's about a chance to chat, to share a thought. And may I invite you to be a part of a discussion, partly because, you know what, your opinion matters. You are valuable, and what you have to say is worthwhile for us to hear. But in this context, that perhaps in our society, we probably have heard, we may subscribe to the golden rule, do unto others, and then some of us will probably change that to say do unto others before they do unto you. Or they may interpret it, say, he who has the goal makes the rule, or he who has the gun makes the rule.
Well,
what do you think?
Give back to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So, and those are the words of Jesus Christ. So, I believe firmly that in every individual there is a role and a place in society or the environment in which they are a part of. That should be a productive role, and I think that in our society, because we have a small population that is mixed in with a diverse population of people who have slowly changed the cultural landscape, of Cayman, because we see the indifferences all the time. We see things that is not in our nature being done within the Cayman Islands. Some things are good, some things are disruptive, and most things are unacceptable. But because we have a constitution that tells us we should accept that, because the moment we don't, then we're obviously violating somebody's human rights.
Right.
So when we look at the family unit, as you mentioned earlier, and I was listening to the lady earlier when you guys were talking about the vulnerability of certain things. You got to remember now that like I said, it all plays back to the environment that we are currently in, and the consequences of all the actions that we face when even if we don't say things sometimes. We just think it and we put a photo up with just the expression on our face. It could be misinterpreted as to what it means, and there's a host of opinions based on it. And then until you engage with those persons who have assumed what your interpretation is, it's only then that the dialogue starts, and then you realize that it was something totally contrary to what the expression conveyed. But again, it's one of those things that we have to adapt to as we move along with the advancement of technology and different things. So I think that when we look at the structural and the social makeup of any society, one, it should be reflective of who you are from a historical moral standpoint, along with all of the different diversities that come along with it, but not abandoning any one thing for the next.
Okay. Well, the phone lines are open, right? Susan's right there if you want to call, and she'll answer. And, she's pleasant, I'm telling you. That was somebody else now might be the same thing. But 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Want us to take a break, Miss Susan, or we can keep talking? You know me, I get paid to talk. That's kidding. We're going to pause.
Okay.
When we come back, let's continue chatting. I made a note. If I can read my writing, if I can see it, I might remember what I want to ask, but we'll see. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
How can you take your business from good to great and thrive in the new normal? By finding the smartest, most powerful IT solutions to optimize your business operations. And now, Digicel Business Hub is making it simple for you. High-speed Wi-Fi, mobile and office phones, IT security, Microsoft Office with Teams, and much more. Everything your business needs to level up in the new normal. Get world-class IT for your business with Digicel Business Hub. Sign up today. Call us on 623-3444 or visit our website, digicelbusiness.com.
Join CUC and take to the streets of West Bay on Saturday, March 6th for Running in the Republic. The annual 5K Fun Run and Walk event will be raising funds for the Sunrise Adult Training Center and the Cayman Islands Athletic Association. Registration is open at caymanactive.com or visit cuc-cayman.com to download the form today. Bring the baby, bring granny, bring the whole family. Come one, come all. Saturday, March 6th, that is the date, starting at 6:30 a.m. at Ristorante Papagallo. You know that place, Papagallo Restaurant. Running in the Republic is a West Bay thing.
See what I'm saying?
My good friend Ray, another See What I'm Saying?
You threw me with a good friend. Yes, we have another See What I'm Saying. This time it's the controversial topic of Doucette.
Doucette?
Doucette. Jean Doucette or Jean Doucette. My French not too good. Nothing funny. It's first bank collapse. I have nothing funny to say about it. This Friday, See What I'm Saying
is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Doucette.
Doucette?
Doucette.
Doucette. It's an interesting time in our history.
Very interesting. Like I said, I don't have anything fun about it. It's a controversial topic.
So I guess people have to tune in.
People have to tune in. This Friday, 19th of February. See what I say? Yeah, on Radio Cayman. They allow us to be on the radio again, See what I'm saying? This Friday.
Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now? Everywhere.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we invite you to be a part of the discussion. Mario D. Rankin is our guest today. So you sit in the hot seat? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Always. Always 96 degrees outside, so it's always the hot seat.
Hey, listen, I like Todd Burley. You know. I remember when Cletus used to have, well, I credited him for doing the five-a-side in West Bay by the town hall, right?
Yeah.
And the only song I can remember.
Is that song?
Yeah, that song.
Do you know the significance of that song?
No.
96 degrees in the shade. It's about the slavery history, and it's a very deep song actually.
Yeah.
If you go listen to the words, and Google the definition and the reason why they wrote that song, it'll give you cold chills.
See, that's why I like music now.
Yeah, it's a very deep song.
All right, I'll try to sing it one day. My good friend, we do have a caller online.
Of course.
Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. How to speak to the general first before I speak to Mr. Mario. Mr. Mario, long time I never heard you. Good to hear you.
All right. Afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
Yes, sir. Good as gold. But I want to ask you a question, quick question. I got a concern.
Yes, sir.
I know that when the election day comes around, there are going to be people in quarantine.
Maybe.
Voters will be in quarantine.
More than likely, possible, yeah.
Okay, let's say they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm understanding through reading the Caymanian Compass that those people will be disenfranchised, but
so
they won't be able to vote.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is fair because they can use absentee ballots or what they call overseas ballots.
Yeah, or some aspect of mobile voting and so on. But
yes. Yeah. And if they are registered, let's play that there are people in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's fair to them because they want to cast their vote as well.
Okay,
what are you going to do about that?
I hear you, and if you don't mind, let me ask, because that is a concern. I believe the elections office has somehow tried to encourage people, don't be traveling during that time. But let's go on the premise that they are. So, Mr. Rankin.
No, I would just add a 5-second plug.
Yeah.
What if it's not their control to travel? Maybe it was an emergency. So the election office need to stop making excuses.
All right, perfect. So let's say, as you shared, that for whatever reason, that is the situation. How then now do we get those registered voters who are expecting to vote? We're not going to comment on how they're going to vote and who they're going to vote for, and that. They just want to go out and exercise their democratic right to cast their ballots. But they're in, and I find this word to be egregious. They're in quarantine. I mean, you imagine all of us were under house arrest, right?
Yeah.
Another thing. But anyway, so that's the scenario. So what would you suggest we do?
Okay, what I would say, the same how that they got what they call social distancing. In other words, these people goes to the hotel, the people gets their food, right? I don't know how they do it. If they push the food by the door from and they come in, they can give them a ballot paper, and the people can be standing up outside the door. When the door opens, they just pass it inside there, and they got on their gloves and thing, and they can, if they want, they can just spray as well as they spray food and all that. I understand now. So I don't know what kind of excuse that would be. Because those people, how their rights, and we talking about, Cayman always talking about human rights. Well, this is a human right issue. Because one vote makes a difference in an election.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. George, if I can.
Yes, sir.
Especially in a single-member constituency where there are even a smaller amount of voters in that pool, whereas in a general election, you can have that argument. But to your point, sir, you gave 3 solutions to the issue, and this is a very, very important topic that you brought up, and I'm glad that you did, because even if it's a absentee ballot where it's sent overseas, right, and it's sent back here with the person's vote in it, you don't have any authority over the person overseas who's not quarantined. You don't know whether they're infected or not, but you've accepted their overseas ballot.
And it's been shipped through.
multiple vineyards where it has to be processed. So if the excuse is that we're trying to keep people safe because they're in quarantine. We don't want to run the risk of anybody being affected. You just gave 3 solutions as to how we could fix that. And that is very simple. It could be done. Now, it's for the election office and Mr. Howell and his team to express extensively and elaborate a bit more as to why those small handful of people, because it's not a lot of people, so it's not like you have to create a whole new wing of the election office. It's a small amount of people, so you should be able to accommodate.
Yes, sir. I agree with that. And like I said, one vote is important to an election. So I don't think it is fair.
But can I ask, if you mind, right, I can ask in relation to questions and comments that we've received. Now, I joke and say yesterday was a long weekend, right? But I spent almost all of the day yesterday working, nothing else to do, right? And a number of people just yesterday alone expressed concern, either through typing messages or calling or whatever, that said, well, what if on election day, right, we are now physically spaced even further apart, and all the things that transpire as a cautionary response to making sure people are safe, and that either A, delays the process, it takes longer for you to cast your ballot, and if inevitably the consequence is that people get turned off and they choose not to go out to vote because of the fear of contagion, the apprehension of having to stay out there that long amongst people or whatever. I mean, just psychologically, inadvertently, unintentionally, unconsciously, people decide to stay away from the polls because of the increased fear and the other safety precautions that we may consider to be acceptable. What if that has a consequence in voter turnout? I mean, how do we address that, sir?
Wow. Good question.
You had lunch either, right? Okay.
Yeah. I was eating my lunch and I had to stop because I can't swallow.
Just a thought, sir.
But like you're saying, delaying the election, anything is possible right now. We can't say what will happen, like you say, on election day.
Yeah.
But there is always a way. The old people would say there's always a way. But we have to address these situations now because we don't have much time left. 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
I didn't even bother count the days here because that's what my pay agreed. But I know what you mean. It's tomorrow.
And I even think that some candidates will be deprived as well, because I am hearing something where they don't have enough time to prepare and stuff. But if they had any idea that they was gonna contest a seat in the election, they should have had, at least their ducks picked out, and all had to put them in line.
Yes, sir.
But what I'm saying about the election with these people are important to the election.
Every single voter is in. Yes, sir.
And they need to be able to cast their votes. So I'm hoping that Mr. Howell or somebody there are listening, because there is always a way.
But
what
then
happens to the old folks that can't get out?
Yeah.
Nobody not gonna go to the house now to look for them to cast their votes too.
But doesn't the elections office fall directly under the office of the governor? So this is out of the political realm. So I would imagine that level of decision making and consultation and what have you, whether it involves the elected.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen too many consistencies out of the governor anyway on representing good governance across the board, because at the end of the day, we could hide behind whether or not we choose to express our power or use our power in certain instances, and then stand on the sidelines in others. This snap election is not in the best interest of the democratic process of the Cayman Islands. We all know that. The reasons that they use to have this snap election doesn't hold water, because only a new government could appoint a new speaker. So that person will remain the speaker for as long as the government exists, until a new government is in place, and then appoint a new speaker. So if your reasoning was solely and truthfully behind addressing the issue of a no confidence vote, because you're in fear of toppling the government and leaving Cayman in a situation where, we don't have a properly functioning government, which under the Constitution says that we should. Okay, fine. If that was the reason, if that was in fact something that has never been done in this country ever before, then okay, we can have that discussion. When in 2012-13, when the then UDP government had its issues and it was a no confidence vote, and 5 members of that government ran this country for the last 6 months of that term. So the president had already been set. Now, what Mr. George said earlier was absolutely important, where no person should be disenfranchised because we have taken the position that a office that is responsible for carrying out these duties has determined that there is too much risk involved. But where was the discussions about this risk? Where was the methodology statement that stated, okay, here is the best way forward to do the next general election because it's a snap election, because of the COVID issue, and because of all of the different fundamental issues that we're currently experiencing. Where is that open dialogue to the public for us to at least have an opportunity to assess, digest, and understand what is being done? I mean, if you look at the persons who are in quarantine, who are registered to vote, that shouldn't be very hard to figure out, Darlene, because the government has a list of who's in quarantine.
Yeah. Well, this where then in our society, the either inability or the unwillingness of the general populace, from the elected politician to the registered voter, not engaging in sufficient public discourse about what is transpiring. Maybe they're fearful, maybe they're just ill-informed. But yet when people speak and ask questions, they get chastised and criticized and castigated.
Well, you're a troublemaker the minute you ask a question that makes sense. The minute you ask a question that makes them think, then all of a sudden, well, why are you asking that question? You're not supposed to ask that question. Listen, I live in the same environment that bears the consequences of their actions. So I can't ignore things that affect
you feel the pinch, right? All right. Mr. Rankin, sorry, we do have a caller. Let's go to the phones. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good.
Hey, bro. How you doing, man?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, man. Good. Hope you had a good holiday, man.
I'm feeling the heat, loving it.
Yeah. Man, listen, I was reminded how beautiful a day yesterday was, and I was also reminded I spent too much time inside. Sometimes the invitations are before us, but we fail to take them up. So, feel the heat, my friend. Feel the heat.
Yeah, love it.
Love it, man.
Glad you got it.
Yep.
Mario?
Yes, sir.
You're going to green turtle shells for me,
Green turtle shell. Yeah, I go to Golden Chinese shop out on the waterfront. They're the only people I know how them.
Check Princess Peaches. Anyways, when it comes to human rights, right? You got these people in charge of making decisions for me, you, and everybody else, right? And one of these decisions that I always have to ask the questions from the number one, always, is why you feel it that, and don't worry, no matter, this is not at you, this is something I put in at this and government that has always been in charge. Them seem little behind the door deals and them seem little schemes. That's what it comes out and call it. I'm not calling it no lie, right? They say schemes, right? This government scheme, this housing scheme, it says that. Not true? Right. Definition of a scheme, right?
Well, just that word alone sometimes can create a negative connotation, you know. What are you scheming about, you know? Another Ponzi scheme. Yeah. But then maybe that's apropos when it comes to politicians, right? You know, a government scheme.
Only them can commit schemes. Right? So anyways, back to what I'm saying now, Mr. Bush's called out and stopped what it was not only him though, all the people that were with him in those times, all the other opposition and everybody else, when it was time to stop the children from getting free health care till the 18, right? Where all that funding went? Where you think that went? That went to stopping the drug force or whatever, the fight against drugs. You understand? So they take away all that for what? For what? Now they got Black Hawk helicopters training about it. You understand? Like we in some war, really and truly. So when you lock us up and you stop us from getting a job and you employ somebody from all the other places in the world, and they come here and they talk, they don't got no right to say anything because you got them on a permit and their little father, their little mother down the back there scheming and begging or whatever for what they got. The little money you got, you want to make sure, because this is what he said, you know. You can hear it on the radio every day. We don't want nobody to come here and living off of us. Not sure? Not sure.
When you
come here, you want to work them to death, right?
So that level of disrespect that we have for life, for liberty, for even a sense of consciousness and morality, and the quality and standard of living sometimes is measured by the person who can occupy a home in a gated community, or who can write a check at a charity that is the largest check that evening, as opposed to the person who has a honest smile and, you know, gentle hands that, you know, exhibits a sincere.
You can't get no way.
Huh.
And you come, you know, they come, you know, and I read the laws already. They say no, it's not supposed to be no gates in front of a yard or anything like that. You understand? Now they have gated communities. So if I were tell them what really for go on, right? It'd be $25 every time you come out that gated community. You understand?
What if that was the case?
Every time.
Think about it, right? We put gates, bars, fences to keep people and things in, to keep the cattle from running wild, to keep the prisoners from escaping. So is a gated community then just another way that we imprison ourselves, right? Now, I'm not talking about people who see it as a sign of safety and security because of the way the society has, sort of evolved, right? But if that is what we need to do to elevate our sense of wealth and status and position and what have you, or if it's a way for us to mistakenly, create a sense of safety and security. I mean, you ever paint something a fluorescent color, it doesn't hide and blend, you don't draw attention to it. So maybe it's the same with the gated community. But I bet you, right, if I put a gate in front of my fence, that will come down first 5 minutes. Right, but let me then ask you, right, in that sense, whether it's a gate that puts up and blocks access over potentially what should otherwise be a public right-of-way, whether it's a wall or a tunnel or some other thing that prevents access to the beach over what people thought or assumed or always believed was a public right-of-way, and nothing happens. Nobody does anything, even those who know that, well, that's not done properly, but we let it be. Eventually, that's going to become the accepted norm, right? You just do it because you can get away with it. You're a bully, you can bribe, you can somehow do something to placate or otherwise pacify or just co-opt others, right? Yep. But is there another cost to all of that, if I might? Just to get a community. No, for those who may mistake, if I had one house lot or if I had 1 million acres and that was mine, I probably would fence it to keep my chickens from escaping, keep my dogs from bothering you and the like. But that's separate and apart from the perspective of wanting to live within that space, right? But does that also prevent the teacher, the parent, the coach from saying to the young person, let's drive through this neighborhood and you too can aspire to these things? Because, in this home here, so-and-so lives there, and that person was whichever. So that sense of being able to motivate by immediately giving an example of people who are there. But if the gated community is there and you can't see beyond the hidden walls, then does that prevent them from dreaming big? Does that create a sense of sort of maybe animosity in them that, well, look, I can't get that, so I may as well not even try.
It brings out the inequality.
Okay.
It shows that in real reality when you see that.
Yeah.
It's no more that it's not there. It's there now when you see that.
Yeah. It's one of those things, I think, where we're not conscious of what's going on. I know we got a couple other callers on, but what else do you want to share with us before we take the other thing?
just to us and all the rest of us, I bless up everybody that call, especially Mr. Anjid, and I always want to tell them that if it not no dope, it not no vote. These ideas have to change.
Yeah, man.
These ideas have to change. You can't lock us up for a piece of grass in the moor, man. I'm sorry. And all the police that think they're doing good and they live in a little paycheck. Let me tell you something. You would be getting more if that were freed up. You understand? Thank you very much.
Blessings, man. Blessings. So let me see if I can... Miss Susan? All right. To our callers, respectfully, stay on the line. We've got a break to take. Let's go to the break and then come back, pick up the callers. Stay tuned.
For the record, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings from 7:30 to 9:30, we interview the various government ministers, opposition, and Cayman Island legislators. For the Record is brought to you by Professional Pharmacy at Chrisley Tomlinson Memorial Hospital. Our pharmacists are here to assist you and recognize the need to personalize your care. Professional Pharmacy, fast, efficient, professional service. Visit us today.
System 1 loaded.
Speak up at the polls this general election, April 14th, 2021.
Do the right thing. Exercise your democratic right and vote. A public service announcement from your #1 community station, Radio Cayman.
This is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Are you ready? Here we go. Set. I feel like running, skip it, run it. Feel like skip it.
Praise time.
Give me Jesus in the morning. I will. So send me, Lord. I will go.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for being a part of our discussion. And for those who are on the lines, well, thank you for your patience. Let's go straight to the phones. Mario D. Rankin is our guest. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you today?
I'm not going to be long.
Okay,
I'm
man.
busy. But I heard the guy that's talking a while ago.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
As a true Caymanian born and raised, I mean, I have nothing against status holders, but people that gain status here because we brought them here. That's basically it. But at the same time, you know, the things that England are doing to us right now, I don't agree with. And I know what anybody else wants to say about this, but I am ready for independence. That's what I'm ready for. We need to take the ship in full control ourselves and run it in the right way. Because at the same time, I hope you know that Babylon is America and the UK. And if you read Revelation 18, you can see that it can fall. And they're doing it slowly. It's happening every day. And read the Bible from beginning to end. And you watch a movie. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm watching a movie. But that's all I have to say. But people not dealing with spirituality. All people talking about is money and when the quick tourists coming back. And it's a good thing we didn't have any tourists this year. We wouldn't have been no way to put them to drive on the road. And what eventually happen now, we're going to ruin tourism anyway. We're going to overpopulate with all these people in cars. When the tourists come in, not going to be tourist friendly anymore. Tourists can complain about that from 3 to 4 years ago. I drive cap at the airport. You know? So these are the things that are happening that government needs to adjust. We need to ease up on the development rate and put in the cars. And we got to find a way to keep a balance. And you can do it. If they don't know how to do it, tell them to call me and I'll tell them how to do it. That's basically it.
Hey, thanks, man.
Anyway, you know,
Bro.
have a good day and God guide and bless.
Amen, man. All right, let's take one more call. Man. Good afternoon. Thank you for sharing. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm okay. How is Mr. Mario?
Good afternoon. I'm good, thank you.
He looked like he's suntan, had a good fish dinner. This guy all, I mean... How are you, Mom? How are you?
No, I'm okay. I'm blessed.
Amen.
Listen, don't talk about fish dinner, you know. because I'm a diabetic and I haven't ate anything since breakfast. So I ready for fish dinner too. Anyway, I don't know what the subject is, but it is some things that I have on my mind that is it concerns me all the time when I hear things like I have heard in a few days ago. A young lady that was working at one of our restaurants, a popular restaurant on the 7 Mile area. The young lady is a Caymanian, has been with these people 6, maybe 7 years, very good at her job, very polite and fast. She's fast. And some client went and complained about her, and that she wasn't nice to them and whatnot. Anyhow, the manager in charge on the shift fired her without a written letter, without a warning, which I think by law they're supposed to give 3 warnings. And those warnings supposed to be by letter, word of mouth and letters. Anyhow, they fired her. I miss her because I was to the restaurant this morning getting breakfast. And you know what he told her? Hey, listen, I know your politician. That politician is a very good friend of mine. And if I tell him, he would tell me the same thing. Get rid of you. Now, come on. What kind of manager is this? We know we got bullies in politics. We got some down here in West Bay. We know that they think that they're above the law. And what kind of manager that is that it can bully her because he know a politician? I would like to meet him and tell him a piece of my mind because they got rid of a very good waitress. Then another thing, another concern of mine is that we see that a lot of people, especially the women and especially the people that call themselves Christian, that politicians can get away with things like how McKeever Bush did. He pleaded guilty on those things. He also had to pay a medical bill. Now, if somebody were beating up on you, you got to turn around and pay their medical bill. And not enough women is speaking up about it. Not enough Cayman women is speaking up about it. So he can write up as much as he like, and they believe him. And then he have a colleague that also believe what he said. But the cameras got all of that. But we're putting that aside. And another concern, and I'm going to let you all go because I did not know. Sorry, Mr. Rankin, I didn't know what your subject was. But I had this on my mind, so I decide I'll let it go.
No, by all means.
All right, thanks very much, John.
I am going to speak about some of the drivers that is now overtaking you on the left side of the road, the left side of you, and they're getting away with it. It happens a lot in Industrial Park. It happened to me this morning with a garbage truck, and I was coming from the clinic helping some people and or family members, and they overtook me, nearly run me off the road, and was fireworks in the truck. A garbage truck. Now, what is happening to this island, I do not know, but we need to see some laws being enforced in this island, because God knows we have the laws dropping out of our ears, but they're not enforced. Now, I thank you for listening to me, and thank you for the time, and good day to both of you. And it's an excellent radio station. Without Radio Cayman, I don't know what I'll do, and I get back when I don't hear you or OC on the radio. Even though it's a holiday, I still get wet.
Well.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mom. I can probably tell you, like me, OC yesterday too was probably preparing and working and researching and reading, just trying to do the very best. But Radio Cayman is invaluable, and I'm glad that we are here. Mario, it is, well, go ahead if you want to jump in and ask me, but go ahead.
No. By all means, I just wanted to extend to what the lady was just talking about, especially when it comes to traffic congestion, the issues with McKeever. And I'll tell you why, because by him pleading guilty and all of the events that transpired after, that was the aftershock, because then we saw where the government called a snap election because of the issue of the speaker refusing to step down. So the opposition called for no confidence vote, the public called for no confidence vote, and then the government, instead of having a special meeting to call a no confidence vote, they decided to call a snap election, which we the people then have to deal with, right? Because now those persons who are going to be disenfranchised from the short voting pool now and from the period of time, those people are going to be marginalized. So there's a huge ripple effect from all of these things. And then when we look at traffic, the amount of revenue we generate from car importation, the government hasn't, and I'm not just this government, no government has put in place a strategic plan on how to generate revenues outside of the current things that we depend on, such as duties on car importation, work permit fees, and all of the things that are eating away at the social fabric and quality of life of Caymanians and people who choose to live here are the very things that are being exaggerated, that are exaggerating the markets, such as cars, which creates traffic, work permits, which marginalize other Caymanians. We talk about Caymanians are lazy because they don't want to work in an environment where they can't afford to work for $4.50 an hour. So
I want to ask you maybe something about that, but maybe phrase it in a way of population growth and development. But before we do, finish.
Oh, we're going to break?
No, we're going to take a caller.
Oh,
you want to do that?
Yeah, of
All
course.
right. Hey, let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon.
My friend, how are you today, man?
I'm very thankful, What I'm calling for, Dwayne, is this farmers assistance program that was started by government, where farmers would get $400 for 3 months from the government in respect of a voucher to go and buy your cattle feed or whatever you need that would assist the farmers. Whereas I agreed with assistance, I believe the assistance should have been measured, because that person that got 2 pepper plants in his backyard can't be considered Mr. Willipin in Northside. Can never be. Today I went to get feed, and I was never more shocked in all of my life, because it seems like this is being used in a very, very different way. And it aggravates me to know that I am a farmer. Am I a farmer, a cattle farmer, to the height of Mr. Paul Borden? No. He's one of the highest in terms of cattle numbers on the island. Do I expect to get the same assistance Mr. Paul gets? No. But I went there today, and to show you how this is being abused, a Jamaica fella come there with the card, asking the guy what wrong you can get with the youth with this card. That's clear and evident. He not no farmer. Farmer, right? If you don't know what you get at agriculture department, what the guy should tell him he could buy rice and beans with it.
Yeah. Can I ask you, and maybe use it to be a little bit more encompassing? I've heard that in relation to the farm subsidy, I've heard it in relation to healthcare and in particular prescriptions that the government pharmacies, education and healthcare in general, and different things. And I'm yet to try to figure out how to sensibly, sensitively, and respectfully and properly and appropriately, and all the good things that we talk that should dictate a sense of manners and decorum, how to broach that discussion publicly. Because it seems that there is this underlying understanding but unspoken, sentiment that there are people who, and by that I mean non-Caymanians, who don't necessarily, by examination, by some sort of assessment, would qualify for these things, this assistance, right? But for whatever reason, they get it. So, just to be clear, just say, as an example, somebody had an insurance card or some sort of card where they could go and get health care and it's being paid for by the government, but they were not Caymanian and labeled as indigent or veteran or civil servant or whatever category. They're a person who's just here, presumably, legally, presumably on a work permit, and yet may not qualify because other people in that same category don't accrue those benefits. So, two immediate questions. If that is happening, why are we turning a blind eye to it?
During the whole thing about it is that anytime that there's political influence, there will always be blind eyes to turn to things.
Okay.
The situation is, for example, who would you depend on to tell you who is really a farmer? I mean, a farmer. A farmer has to be categorized in the sense that you can't consider somebody that planting 2-3 pepper plants around a yard a farmer. You can't consider that a farmer. What needs to happen there is the Department of Agriculture, through their system, that can see how much feed Tom, Dick, and Harry buy, how many pesticides Tom, Dick, and Harry buy, how many plants they buy, that would easily categorize the level of farming that this individual do.
Right.
But I mean, it's quite evident that for you to see somebody come there and ask what he can get with this card, right? That he don't have one clue. I see him fiddle around until he got one spray gun.
Right.
It's ridiculous, man. It needs to stop. It's taxpayers' money,
Yeah. Well, let me then ask something else, right? Again, what if it was alleged that you had lands, whether they're owned by the government, so public lands, or whether they were private, undeveloped lands in a remote area, where people, again, since we're talking about farming, they're utilizing these lands with or without government assistance, whether they're doing so knowingly, corruptly, or otherwise. And these lands, because they're remote and not being used at present, somehow farming, the peppers, the cassava, the other bread kind, and whatever else is transpiring on this land, and then that land and its yield is being used to the benefit of those in the know. Now, if that was happening, how do you think our society would respond to that?
Well, our society is so mixed, I don't know how to respond to it. I mean, I again just because it doesn't make no sense for you to say anything. So I can just say it. I can stop saying and just watch it all go to hell. I mean, it makes no sense anymore.
Well,
you and Mario, take care. Have a good day.
Thanks, man. And I think that answers the question I was going to ask. We're going to take the break in a second. You got a quick?
Well, no, I just think that when we look at these stimuluses that are going out and they're needed, obviously, and hopefully the government can somehow figure out a way to continue. But the reality is that and to his point, not everybody is a farmer. It shouldn't be very hard to distinguish between who rightfully deserve these vouchers in order. I don't particularly think that it should be because of how many cattle or how many whatever. I mean, when you look up the definition of the word farmer, it means one thing, meaning but again, I don't think a guy should be wandering into the agriculture department with a vulture that he has no clue as to what it could purchase, because then it begs to ask the question, how did you attain this vulture? Because you certainly had to go through some sort of process in order to be qualified to get the vulture.
All right. I want to ask about that in a second. And today has been, as was yesterday, an interesting day in terms of some of the things that are shared. We can talk about the other things.
We want to talk about the cost of living and why no government member in the last 20 years has done anything with any real merit to address the issue that affect the majority of the people in this country. We got to stop sidestepping these issues and start talking about them all the time until somebody. And this is a good time because you got a lot of newbies wanting to be politicians. So we need to send a clear message to them.
All right. With that, join us after the news break.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Join the Visual Arts Society workshop, where you can learn portrait drawing in pencil and methodology that develops skill. The 6-week course takes place Tuesdays, February 23rd to March 30th from 6 until 8 p.m. at 3G Studio, Camana Bay. To register, email workshops@visitartcayman.com. In international news, Texas Senator Ted Cruz flew to Mexico with his family amid a weather crisis that has left millions in his state without power. The report comes as hundreds of thousands of Mr. Cruz's fellow Texans woke up to a 4th day without power after extreme winter weather overwhelmed the state's energy grid. The Perseverance rover is approaching Mars after a 7-month, 470 million kilometer journey from Earth for the most challenging part of its mission. It's got to put itself down safely on the red planet, a task that has befuddled many spacecrafts before it. But if Perseverance is successful, it has an opportunity to find signs of past life on Mars. A metal structure that mysteriously appeared on a roundabout in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been destroyed over fears about its origins. The 12-foot triangular prism looked like other metal monoliths that have cropped up around the world over the last few months. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks for joining us, and thanks for your thoughts, your comments, for thinking, and for speaking. 949-837, 1-800-534-8255. Mario D. Rankin. Hey, thanks for your company, man.
It's always my pleasure. And now that we have a moment of opportunity to discuss some of the real issues and some of the things that are consistently affecting the social ability of persons to participate in any aspect of our society without having the fear of bills overriding them, and it's just one of those things where we need to address the issue. We talk about the workforce, we talk about the labor force, we talk about job creation, we talk about all these things, but the proof is in the pudding. The writing is on the wall. We have over 30,000 work permits, so we don't need job creation, right? That's not what we need. We need job control and job placement and job security. And the reason why I say that, as we discussed briefly during the break, if you go into a dollar store, Sterling, and you buy an item and you go home and 2 days later it break, you're not disappointed. You don't even feel like you were ripped off because you went into a dollar store and what you got was the value of $1. So when we encourage cheap labor to come to our country, and I don't mean that in any derogatory way at all, because the reality is the reality. When a person's working for $4.50 an hour, and then the 15% gratuity is the additional $1.50 that they justify for the $6 minimum wage, that's cheap labor. when you have subliminally, not consciously, subliminally allowed an industry to create itself into a product that is not desirable to the average Caymanian in terms of sustainability. You can't expect a Caymanian who has to bear all the responsibilities of the cost of living on his own get into an environment that is insaturated with persons who come here and pool their resources and survive off the bare minimum because they're making the bare minimum, right? And then their economies, where they're from, are a lot weaker, and their dollar is valued a whole lot more versus, their dollar is vulnerable to our dollar because, 100 Cayman CI dollars is probably 50,000 where most of them are from. And that's a reality. I'm not speaking anything that's not true.
The exchange rate and so on.
Right. So, and then essentially we find where a lot of the business owners, and I can call them out on this because it's a reality. We got some of our own indigenous Caymanians who are benefiting from the cheap labor regime. Okay, I've said this 100 million times. In 1972, we were warned about the fundamental issues that cheap labor would cause for Caymanians moving forward if he didn't put comprehensive training programs in place to make sure that it was not at the forefront of our labor force. Now we realize that you can't put a Caymanian, you can't say minimum wage is $6, create a cheap workforce labor and then cast a Caymanian into that and expect him to sustain his bills and his family, and then when he cycles out of it very quickly, then we get this reputation as being lazy and not want to work, and then you have all these businesses who boast, and I hear them all the time. I wish that I didn't, but I'm telling you from experience, I hear people boasting that, we gave Caymanians an opportunity, but they wouldn't show up the next day. And it boils my blood to hear it because I know that the system is rigged for Caymanians who want to contribute with quality labor force. They're just not able to do so.
Yeah, man. But as I listen, as I listen to you, right, and Mario Rankin is our guest, so you can call and share your thoughts. But are these the difficult discussions that we're unable to have, and in particular publicly, right? Because we get cascaded, maybe we partly are too polite and we want to remain respectful. So a couple of things from what you said I wanted to maybe ask. The foreign national who works in Company A and then Company B and then Company C, whether in Cayman or other jurisdictions, we say that person is traveling the world, getting experience. We always see it as positive. The Caymanian that sees a better opportunity in Company B leaves Company A, then down the road jumps to Company C. We say job hopping, right? But on the CV, you're both, 2 or 3 years here, whichever. But equally, you know what? Let's take this call. And
well, let me just say before the call, because we don't know how much time that'll take up. But I'll just say this before the call, right? Yeah. Let me just say this, because I said very little.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. Until we create a quality job market for quality labor force and make people who come here to participate understand that it's a privilege to be here and that we have prioritized that Caymanians have those jobs and we exhaust our own harvest before we allow anyone else to come in.
Yeah.
And it has to be a sustainable environment. And that's how we should take the approach.
Okay, perfect. That's somewhere where I was going to go. But let's go to this caller. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for your thoughts. Let's try it in Spanish. Hello, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for your thoughts. All right. Hey, it happens. So with that, from what you shared, let's put it this way. So the foreign national who has qualifications takes a job, and we look at a person and we say, oh, that person is so ambitious. So they have a PhD or an MBA or whatever it is. Maybe they're an accountant, but they're willing to take a job as a file clerk, whatever it is, right? But the Caymanian that would possess those qualifications, that skill set, experience, and expertise, would say they're overqualified. Now, it may not be anything more than they just want to get a foot in the door. Understandably, they say, well, as soon as the opportunity arises, the Caymanian is going to move on to something, better paying, right? Is it then that inherently we're creating a system that is abusive because of the work permit hold that is over the person who's subject to that permit?
Agreed. And I think that where we run into the biggest obstacles when it comes to reforming that is where we've allowed companies to design jobs that box out the Caymanian qualification and experience. And we've seen it We've seen it over the years in various forms, in various companies and in various industries. We've seen where they've applied for these applications for work permit for these specialty jobs that Caymanians don't have, in quotation, don't have the experience or the expertise. And I think that we've allowed that to happen because I think our history has already proven that we are the most resilient people in the Caribbean, because we went to ship with a third grade education and came back as engineers. So you can't tell me that it takes 50 years to train me how to do this specialty job that you had this person in work permit for 20 years for, who's now subsequently become a Caymanian, and you can no longer remove that person or demand anything from them. So I'm not saying that we're anti anything in this.
No. I hear you.
We need to have proper infrastructure and policies that creates the productivity of Caymanians, sustainability of Caymanians, and the continuity of Caymanians.
Right. But Mario, then, from that perspective, then, right, the person who's in a job on a permit, or anybody, but the one that is on a permit,
it should be a law that if you come here, not cutting your thought.
No. Go ahead.
It should be a law that any job or any company that is allowed to have a specialty work permit because we don't have the experience, that person, that position has a 3-year, depending on the task at hand, that it has a term and that expires indefinitely. Because then now you have to train that local person to take that job, to learn that job, and fill that job, and that person should only be into a 3-year rollover. The rollover shouldn't be 7 years in Australia. It should be 3 years, and you take a break for 3 years.
Okay.
That's what it should be.
All right. Where the person on a permit has come and has gained experience, right? So maybe they had none or little, 1 or 2 years, and at the end of 5 years, now they have 5 plus the 1 or 2. And then the application renewal is saying, well, we need 5 years, 7 years, whatever, to coincide with the thing. But on top of that, listening to some of the people, specifically in the financial services sector, say that a person coming from Canada or the UK or wherever has international experience. That's where they live and work. So they've not worked in an offshore jurisdiction, but the Caymanian or the person working in Cayman doesn't have the international experience. Now, again, maybe I don't understand that, but
it's all a matter of your interpretation of international.
But if you're living in your hometown, that's
how many times Caymanians have trained people coming in to do the very job that they excelled on, that then they create this oppression of the Caymanians within that institution. We've seen it. It's there. Yeah. It exists.
Right. On top of that, let me then ask.
But that law will fix that problem. Okay. That law doesn't allow that to be manifested within our workforce.
I hear what you're saying, and I think the immigration issue is a very emotive one, and it's becoming so highly charged that we're losing objectivity, right?
The problem with the immigration issue, Sterling, and I'll say this from my personal opinion, I think that we worry about too much of offending someone else as opposed to focusing on protecting our own.
And maybe protecting and promoting what should be the ethos, the mantra of a society with certain values and so on. And I'll maybe elaborate on that. But let's take this other caller.
Okay.
We're speaking to Mr. Mario D. Rankin. Let's go to the phones. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hey, afternoon, Sterling. Afternoon, Mario.
Afternoon, man. How you doing?
Any better, I couldn't stand it, as they say,
You'll be a Barcas then, wait, tell me.
I know. But, you're on the topic about, especially with the term of the work permits and stuff, that it should be a 3-year, etc. I thought we saw that in the past where they had limitations, and then, of course, some companies then went in to say that, especially from the law firms, because they're the ones, at the end of the day, really driving a lot of these changes when you break it down. And their employees that they hire require, obviously, these particular expertise because they need to get business from abroad to bring in, etc. The problem now with the work permits, we have that same problem with our political holders where they go in there and, you don't have no term limits. So, I'm not going to stay too long because I'm on a break right now, but all of these term limits, basically, like Mario was saying, they need to be down to like a minimum, not a maximum, of 3 years. It's just maybe 4 years, since the political thing is 4 years, then let the work permits as the same be at 4 years. I mean, you know, I certainly agree on that. I mean, we have some other issues going on right now where we see in the development, I mean, it's pretty much out of control because we see plenty of apartments going up. If you look down in West Bay right now, you can see that all of the residential cheap land, if you want to use that term, is actually being bought up right now by our biggest developer right now. Because if you really went and check out all the land parcels that are about, you have these real estate agencies calling people, checking on them to buy their land, assuming that it's going to be sold to them or some other person trying to make it in life, when in reality it's being bought up by your biggest developer. And that developer isn't putting a house down there to sell to me or you. They're actually going to put up 30 or 40 apartments in that same space. And as Caymanians, we came from a generation where, you know, we were told that our parcel of land couldn't be no smaller than this. We couldn't have a house no higher, no wider than this. Now we see the houses built right to the line. And again, when you go back to a lot of this, the real estate agents and the lawyers are really driving a lot of this because, you know, I'm not saying that they do come to you and buy a house for $100,000 and sell it back then at $500,000. Because if you sell someone's house for $500,000 before it was $100,000, all the houses in that area now all of a sudden value $500,000 too, right? So, like I said, I won't hold up, but we see places like Marcus is getting ready to get a hotel up there.
I see that.
Phase 1 has been sold already.
I see that.
But apparently no planning permission, I was told.
Well, the planning department, in my opinion, the whole thing needs to be scrapped right from the director. The whole board needs to be totally, dissolved and new people go in there, because even if you remove the board, you still have the administration of it itself that has that mindset as well, you know, and it's causing huge problems for Caymanians. When you break it down, it seems almost as if the planning department is the one causing the biggest problem of all, not even immigration with all the permits, more like the planning department. You know, what we currently see going on with all the development, because you can still bring in a lot of permits, and most of those people, as Mario mentioned, on cheap labor, ain't going to be going to no bank and get no mortgage or no big-time loan.
True.
But with planning department approving these major developers to go ahead and build and then get permission, you know, we end up in this problem where Caymanians are being just simply, you know, can't even find the words for it.
Pushed to the margin?
Yeah, and...
You're right.
Yeah, man.
But I'll give you gentlemen time to go back and get what you got to say.
All right. But thanks for listening, right? And don't be a stranger to calling, all right? Blessings to you, man. See you up this one. All right. Mr. Rankin, final break?
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, let's do that. And maybe some fish dinner?
Yeah.
I'll taste for it, man.
Yeah.
All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
How can you take your business from good to great and thrive in the new normal? By finding the smartest, most powerful IT solutions to optimize your business operations. And now, Digicel Business Hub is making it simple for you. High-speed Wi-Fi, mobile and office phones, IT security, Microsoft Office with Teams, and much more. Everything your business needs to level up in the new normal. Get world-class IT for your business with Digicel Business Hub. Sign up today. Call us on 623-3444 or visit our website, digicelbusiness.com.
That thing we've been saying for 64 years, ignore it. Eat the KFC wings, drink the KFC gravy, fill up on fries. Just please forget the thing we normally suggest. You know, that thing you used to do with your tongue after finishing a delicious piece of our KFC chicken. We get it. It's not easy. There's a reason why it's been our slogan for over half a century. But the world's drastically changed of late, and as soon as we can embrace the change, the sooner we can all get back to doing what we do best. KFC. It's good.
Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now? Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you too for your thoughts, your comments, and your company. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to engage. And Mario D. Rankin, you know what? Together, together.
I wanna I wanna make a few comments on my good friend Dominic on some of the things he mentioned, and I think that it's very refreshing to have conversations with other people and get different ideas, and we share them and whatever. But you know, and when you talk about the term limit thing, you know, the one of the biggest issues we have with trying to put term limits on politicians, because we don't have a large enough harvest of Caymanians who are, one, interested, and two, qualified to get into that arena. And a lot of those who would make good, you know, policy writers and makers, not interested in politics. So our harvest is small. So we can't out-resource ourselves by putting a term limit in. No, you're not going to bother running because they already ran at a certain terms. But but as far as the work permit goes, and in that regard, that's a total different thing, because we must understand that if we're gonna create a sustainable workforce and labor force, and for the Cayman Islands and for its people and Fairwater to have a fair participation opportunity in it, we must understand the importance of every single industry. We must understand what the needs are, what sort of structure that need to be designed for that. We should never ever have a situation where we call any labor cheap, and the reason for that is because you boasting over here being the top 5 financial center in the world and economies and countries and first world countries, but then you have a lot of policies that are contrary to what you're trying to portray. Now, looking at the cost of living, there are very few implementations you can do immediately that will not upset the apple cart entirely and reduce the cost of living. The problem with it is that, you know, it's the motivations behind the politicians who are driving policies that creates the biggest hindrance.
Right. Can I ask? I mean, I hear what you're saying, that those who would agree with you, those who think about it, maybe come back with a different perspective, right? But with the greatest respect to the voter, I always think sometimes that's where the power lies, but it is an exercise. Now, we want to elect and appoint, whether in politics or in our businesses, honest, competent, reliable, trustworthy, ethical, all the good things that position should require of the holder, right? But in this being an election year, and one of our listeners said it's 54 days from today that election is, right? So in a short order.
Right.
Where is the voter in all this? In getting informed, getting engaged, becoming very active and saying, okay, given that, and I say this, and it's not complimentary. We've cut this country up into little bits and pieces, like it was shredded up and have no value anymore. That can be good and bad, depends on your perspective. To me, if we got a small number and we cut it up into even smaller, it makes no sense, right?
19 constituencies is a clear indication.
Yeah. So the voters in each area is even a smaller number. Are we going to get involved to know who's going to be the nominated person for our area, and figure out as much as we can about the person, get us involved, attend the meetings, and become, at the very least, on election day when we cast our ballots?
Well,
know what we're doing.
I think what we should be doing in the very near future, because we haven't done it yet, and we haven't had anyone who have brought in a meaningful discussion about it and implementing an accountability mechanism. One of the biggest issues we have is where politicians do whatever they want and nothing happens.
Okay.
Right? And when I say that with the greatest respect, because we've seen some politicians do a lot of great things for the country, but we've seen those who have created issues that today we still suffer from, and they should be held accountable.
Okay.
Right? So until we have a mechanism that holds people accountable, the motivation to do the right thing, and the things that are going to create a sustainable environment for all its people, you're not going to see any of that.
Right.
That's number one. And number two, when we look at the motivations of a policy, okay, let's just use one small scenario, for instance, just so we can give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. I had this discussion just earlier today with a group of friends. Tell me why we don't have a recycling law. Why? Tell me why. 60,000 people, and we don't have a recycling law.
Why do we have?
Who does that affect? Right?
Well, why do we have a recycling mentality that is?
No. The problem with it is, Sterling, is that we've been living under a colonial system for too long.
Okay.
So we have now become a product of our environment where we need someone to tell us what to do. The reality is the reason why we don't have a recycling law because there's no political mileage to gain from it.
Okay. So before we take this last call, right, or this other call, I don't know, to your point, the voter, when is the voter going to organize as an entity like you have other associations, right, to hold the voting process, the politician and that thing accountable so that it reflects what their agenda should be as opposed to the individual, the collective. Now, if you got a chance, I'll answer a question by asking a question. Let's go to the phones first, though. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
You listen, 5 by 5, man. Go right ahead.
We can hear you.
Awesome. Good afternoon, guys. Hope you guys are well.
And to you.
And to you.
I just wanted to touch on the point with the work permits and the cost of living here. Well, I wanted to ask Mr. Mario if he thinks maybe touching on the minimum wage, if trying to find a way to increase that would probably help the situation here. Because I'll tell you, cost of living here is so high, and it affects not just expats who are working the minimum wage jobs, but it affects Caymanians as well, because they're taking home probably $350 a week while they got rent at $1,800.
Correct.
And it's hard to find anything below that, So, and because the cost of living here rivals that of New York or even London, but their minimum wage is like $17 an hour, But obviously, you can't compare us to a metropolis like that because they're mass populations. They have more numbers, so they can probably contribute a little bit more to any businesses making any, like a sustainable amount of income. But I was just wondering if maybe touching on that would help.
Yeah, man.
Well, I want you to stay on because I want to have the dialogue. Here's the fundamental difference between the expat worker and the Cayman worker, and that difference is that. And we've seen this. I worked immigration. I've been at locations where I've seen this firsthand. So the reality is that we've seen where the expat worker who's making that minimum wage, and you're absolutely correct, it's not enough to pay the $1,800 a month rent individually. So we've seen where the expat worker has pooled their resources. So you'll have you'll have an apartment complex or a house or whatever it is that has been created into sublets, where they would rent it, sign the lease, and then they sub-rent it to other people that comes in there. So essentially, by the end of the day, if you have an apartment that is $1,800 a month and you got 6 people living in there and you split $1,800 6 ways, then all of a sudden your $350 a week check is starting to look more sustainable than as if all of the bills were on you alone. Now let's flip the page to the Caymanian now. And I want you to indulge me here for a second. Go out and find 5 other Caymanians who are willing to go live under the same roof with you and share those responsibilities without being the king of that residence. So because our culture and who we are historically is completely different. We don't subscribe to that way of life, and 2, we are not able to conduct ourselves in that environment. So therefore, we remove ourselves from it, and then we be lambasted with all sorts of names. Now, you're absolutely right. New York minimum wage is a lot higher than Cayman, but there is a two-sided sword to minimum wage, because if you increase minimum wage, then the person who have to pay the worker more, cost of living goes up. I think what needs to happen is that we need to approach the cost of living from the compulsory items such as energy and food. These are the small things that we can implement immediately that can reduce the cost of living. That is not the burden of the laborer, the person who hires the laborer, and those and all those industries. So, for instance, we've not for the last 9.5 years, and I've been monitoring this like how I raise my children constantly. Now, we've not had an opportunity to enjoy global low prices of crude, right? We can argue about global warming. We can argue about sustainable energy. We can argue about environmentally friendly, because I support all of those things. But what we can't argue about is that we have an entity that provides energy that is solely dependent on fossils, but yet there is no policy, there is no energy policy that says that the global low prices in which everybody else is enjoying should then translate into a savings at the pump, a savings at the electricity company. And then remember now, every single consumable in this island has a fuel factor attached to it, because the voyage from the multiple locations that food had to take before it got here, there are about 9 heads of compensation that a lot of products that hit our shores have to pay before they get here. So if you're reducing the cost of fuel on a global level, then the cost of that good then automatically comes down. And these are the things that create that extra hole in the belt where you can loosen your belt up a bit.
Right.
So once we take that approach first, and then we can start focusing on how we better balance our labor force versus the quality and the minimum wage.
All right. Any other thoughts, my friend? You want to leave with us? I don't wish to rush you, but...
No, I know you guys only had a few minutes left, so I just wanted to touch on that, see what his opinion
Great point.
was.
That's a great point, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, if I was to go and look for the Caymanians, like you were saying, I'd probably be on here all day.
I mean, we can sit by the table and eat, but we're not sharing the same house, okay?
But remember now, those persons who do that, that's their culture from where they're from, so it's easy to do. Here, it's not our culture, so it's hard to do. And that's the difference.
Well, culture is one thing, and then the other is them doing what they feel they need to do.
That's right. They make the sacrifices. Correct.
Because they make a lot of sacrifices to come here. Because let's be honest, these people are coming from Philippines, Central
Nepal.
America,
But hold
third world
on.
countries.
Canada as well. UK. I mean, it's not just...
Yeah, you would see very few Canadians or people from the UK as a grocery clerk in a store. You're not going to see many of them working that job.
No.
They would come here and probably become managers.
No, but I sorry to inject, but I believe that sometimes when we see the comment made about these numbers in these households, it may be the allegation that they're 10, 15 to a house. But what about the 3, 5, or 7 who are not renting somewhere, off the beaten path, but they're on 7 Mile Beach or in the other areas? And now it's not a $500 a month rent.
The Canadians does it as well.
All right. I hear you, man. I hear you. So we talk some more? You'll call again and share with us and keep us on our toes?
Yeah, for sure.
There you go, bro.
I listen every day.
So I hear. All the best, man.
Likewise, buddy. Thank
you.
All right, man.
All right, Mario. Maybe you'll come back on, and when we do, I thought I want to sort of start to get people to consider. You talked about why is there not a recycling law?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's flip that. Why is there seemingly an accepted ethos in our society that everywhere we go, let's just start with the government buildings, there's a security guard telling us how to stand in line, when to enter a building? I mean, are we that stupid, right? That we don't know good common sense and decorum and deportment, that we can't go into a space and know how to behave, know who's next?
We have blindly accepted a lot of things that have cost this environment and this country, to the point where if we do not put strong policies and emphasize better quality of life for Caymanians, as opposed to creating every law possible to make it easy to come here, we need to figure out a law that can make it easy for Caymanians to stay here, not come here.
But look at the security. How much that's costing us, right? As a business, not to make the space safer, right? But equally, this is not to offend or insult the security. No. And we're not hiring a doorkeeper, a concierge, or whatever to facilitate the smooth operation, right? We're hiring somebody who is, in many cases, insolent, unqualified, indignant, and I would say sometimes ignorant, right? Who want to push their way and fluff their power in you.
Right.
Now, if somebody reaches out and strikes them, you can have a confrontation.
Well, I've been denied entrance into an establishment where a security guard implemented his own rule.
There you go.
And that was one of the cases. But I just want to clarify one last note before, because I know you got to cut off now. I want to make sure, because I try to be fair and balanced with anything that I say. When I say that we need to have certain policies and certain rules implemented with cheap labor, it's not to say that we don't need labor, you know. We must understand that we don't have enough Caymanians living and breathing to take every job in this country.
No.
I get that. And I know that we need to have inward bound labor that comes in to fill those gaps. What I'm saying is that we have to have a better structure that does not gate out the qualified, ambitious Caymanians who are willing to participate. And some of those things are self-inflicted, such as allowing cheap labor to come in here and pool their resources. There should be strong policies, and this 7-year rollover policy is not working.
All right, well, let's talk about that whole issue of employment population next time, and let's ask ourselves, why is it that we seem to allow the issue of underemployment for some, but we don't acknowledge it for others? So even if we were to limit it within the Caribbean context, we may promote some nationalities at the expense of others. Not even just dismissing and diminishing and marginalizing Caymanians, right? But even those on a permit. Seemingly, interpretation would be we are discrediting or even somehow, prejudice against some. But maybe that's a discussion for the next time. You'll accept the public invite to join me?
Of course, absolutely.
All right. If you're there thinking and talking, make sure the way you're talking is something that you've been thinking about so that you can think and talk from a perspective of being informed. Tomorrow's Friday. Wow. Tomorrow's Friday, Miss Susan? All right, Mario, as you walk out, stay outside and I'll catch with you.
Thank you very much, Radio Cayman listeners. One of the best.
All right. Join Ray Banker and myself tomorrow as we bring you see what I was saying, because, boy, he's been working diligently, and I tell you the truth, don't know if I can manage to get through all the reading that he's saying. It's going to be an interesting show, and well, let's see if we do it justice. We want you to be a part of it. It's always about trying to inform, engage, educate, and involve. And, now join, Mr. Art in the morning for the record. Thank you for your time, for listening. Thank you for your counsel, your prayers, and thanks equally for your friendship. And, there's nothing better than a wonderful conversation. So as I look forward to that, I'm excited. Stay tuned for Susan now as she brings you some really, really good songs. There's a song I wanted to play, but boy, it mightn't just be right. Maybe she will. You have to stay tuned to find out. Until tomorrow, be blessed.